everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the B Channel podcast, where my objective is to bless, edify, and encourage others to live their best lives. Now, in today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to support people who are grieving. Now, I know that this grief topic can be a bit touchy for many reasons, right? Sometimes, whether you are the person that is grieving or you are trying to support someone who is grieving, it can be touchy, right? It can be hard to figure out what do you say to that person. And I don't know if you were anything like me, but the way that 2024 ended and how we came into 2025, there just has been so much death, right? And it can be overwhelming when you feel as though there are a lot of people that are in your circle that are simultaneously experiencing this same type of situation. And you want to show up, right? You know, when you have a big heart, you want to show up for people, within your boundaries, of course. It's very important that I express that you want to show up for people, you want to support people, but you also have to be aware of your boundaries and be aware of that other person's boundaries. And one of the things that I've learned as somebody who is grieving and that I'm seeking that support is, you literally spent time with your relative, right? And you don't realize until you lose that relative how much time that you spent with that person. So, one of the things that I realized is that you are now seeking to find um a way to fill that time. And so one of the things that you have to be careful about is that you do not um trauma bond or get codependent on other people who are walking through the same thing, right? It's healthy to have those conversations when you know that someone else can relate, and to be in spaces where you know that other people can relate. But it's also healthy to make sure that we are not like, commiserating constantly around that topic, right? But it's really a complicated situation. It really is. But one of the best and simplest things that I have learned from my bereavement counselor is you can ask people. You can simply ask them, like, do you have the bandwidth for this today? Do you have space for me to share this today? Because a lot of times, especially if you're an empathetic person, it can be easy to allow people to lean on you. But then when it comes time for you to lean on those other people, those safe people in your life, it feels hard because you're so busy running around trying to be the strong person all the time. But sometimes it's okay to need people. And that's something I'm walking through, to learn to need people, you know, and have that middle ground of leaning on people and asking for help, but not being codependent. So it's kind of a spectrum, if you will. You don't want to be codependent, but you don't want to isolate yourself. You want to be in, find a common ground, find a middle ground of where you are healthily leaning on your safe people in your life. And it's really a journey, y'all, when it comes to supporting people and when it comes to being supported. It's a journey. You have to learn how to do this. You have to practice, supporting people, and you have to practice being supported. And I think one of the best ways you can just do is like, don't one of the things I heard someone say that I was talking to is that don't feel like you have to walk on eggshells when it comes to talking about the person that has passed on. You can ask that person about that person. And I think that it is incumbent upon us as the grievers to just tell people like, hey, you can ask about that person that I lost. It's not going to trigger me. And my therapist told me this too. She was like, um, you can't trigger somebody. They like pretty much they're already going to be triggered. Like let's say it's the anniversary of them losing that person, or it's it's been a certain number of months, or it's their birthday, or it's Mother's Day or Father's Day, or any other special holiday that they shared with that person. You can't trigger them because 9 times out of 10, they woke up and they started thinking about it. So you can just say, hey, um, if you know someone is grieving, you can say, hey, I know that today is rough and I'm here for you if you want to talk. It's as simple as that. Or you can just say, I'm thinking of you today. I know that today is a rough day for you. I'm thinking of you. And that idea alone, y'all, that idea alone that someone took the time, they took the time to consider how you might be feeling. They took the time to remember this milestone. Remember this moment in time, this day. It really means the world when you're going through and you can feel alone, especially because I've noticed this phenomenon that some people will say on that first few weeks or so, oh, you can call me anytime. You can text me anytime, or if there's anything you need, I'm checking on you, right? There are the people that will say that. And then, as time goes on, everybody else is moving on with their lives, right? And so naturally, there are going to be less people who check on you because they feel as though, hey, it's just one of those things where people feel as though they don't know what to do past beyond a certain point. They know that first few months, oh, let me check on that person. But beyond that, people they fall off, and it's not to really to bash the people that fall off or whatever, because people are living their lives. But it just comes a point where you begin to understand who is really in your corner on this journey, who are going to be your people, and who are the people that you cannot count on in that way. Because as I said in a previous episode, sometimes some people do not know how to process their grief. And rather than, you know, being able to articulate that, sometimes they can't articulate that. So it's just easier for them to just fade into the background. And that can be hurtful, but it's better that early on that that person cannot handle that, rather than finding out way down the line. And it's just one of those things, yo. It's really a sensitive, touchy topic, and everybody handles grief differently. Everybody is not um good with handling death and handling people who are walking through that grief journey. So it's very important that you find your people, you find your safe people, that you can talk to this person and they'll listen, and they will, give you feedback if you need feedback on how you're feeling, or if you need to talk to somebody who gets it. you know it's important to have those people, but it's like, oh, everything just kind of boils down to boundaries and balance. Understand that there's only so much as human beings that we all can take as far as our emotional bandwidth for talking about certain things, and understand that you know um you don't want to sit there and just have a like a grief party like all day, or just like live in that space all of the time, because it's just not sustainable to live in that space all day long. You have to find a way to start the journey of living without the person, because sometimes, let's be honest, when somebody passes, you do feel like a part of you dies and you just don't know how to go on living your life without that person there. You just can't imagine or fathom how you're going to go on. But that's why the support matters. People supporting you and having that close knit chosen family, or your family of origin, it really does matter to have those people to rally around you and say, hey, this is going to, you're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. You will not feel the heaviness, the weight of this for the entirety of this journey, because let's face it, you are going to be in some space of, or some portion of this grief journey for the rest of your life, because you know, as long as you live on without that person, you're going to be thinking about them, especially if they were a parent, or they were a spouse, or they were a child, or a sibling, or a cousin, aunt, uncle, grandparent, whoever they were to you, a friend, whoever they were. And so you need to have people around you that can empathize with where you've been and the journey that you're on, and that have the space, that have the bandwidth for it, and can go the distance, because those times when you're down, you really do see who is in your corner, you know? You do. And because, it's easy to be everybody's, friend, or be in other people's corner when things are going great. But when things really take a downturn and take a nosedive in your life, you really see who's there. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. I've been blessed to have some people that are really in my corner. And I appreciate those people. You know who you are. I'm not going to do no shout outs, say no names, but you know who you are. And it's beautiful to have those people in your corner. And it's nothing like that kind of support. And, to those of you out there who don't have that chosen family or that family of origin, make sure that you get yourself into a support group, whether that's virtual or in person. Make sure you talk to someone, go to therapy. It's okay. I always say Jesus in therapy, therapy and theology. It's okay to talk to somebody about how you are feeling. You deserve the right kind of support to navigate this season. This is not something that anybody should have to navigate on their own. It really is important to have that support. And not just, like I say, I stress this, not just in the days, the weeks, the months, and that year afterwards, ongoing. Because what happens is people think that grief is just when it happens, or those few months or those weeks. But what happens is, oh, that person's birthday comes up. Oh, the anniversary of when they died comes up, or the anniversary of when the funeral was, or the anniversary of the, when that marriage, or that anniversary of whatever the case may be, Mother's Day, Father's Day, like I said before, any of those special moments that you share with that person is going to be triggering, and you're going to have those moments where you feel sad and heavy, and you're remembering that person because of how much you love them. That's an evidence of how much you love that person. That's all that grief is. And so the point is, support is everything. The right support is everything. It really matters. So if you know somebody that's going through, take the time to ask them, how are you um feeling today? Like, how are you processing this? Like, what kind of day are you having today? Because, like, I think that a lot of times people just kind of stop at how you're doing, but that question by itself gets old. So maybe think of some other ways, like, what kind of day was it today? Maybe if you had to rate today 0 to 5 or something like that, like, ask the person some different kinds of questions, like, instead of just saying how are you doing, because especially in those first few months, it's going to be the same answer, and it's not going to change for a while. because it takes a long time to get to a place of acceptance. And you always going to have that pain because you love that person, but it kind of like you're able to deal with it as time goes on in a different way. But that first few weeks, months, a how you doing question gets old. So just my in my experience, hey, how are you feeling today? How did your day go for you? Keep it simple, but just check in with people. It doesn't have to be as complicated. It doesn't have to be awkward. As sometimes we can make it to just say, hey, I'm thinking about you, you know? And people appreciate that. They really do. It doesn't have to be this grandiose thing. It can just be, hey, I'm checking on you. Simple as that. And I love that, you know, and, you know, but the important thing is just to find people that you can talk to and really have a real conversation with, because you do have those people that'll just say that, but if you go further, they can't handle that. So you need to find people. The whole point, y'all, find your people that are safe and talk to those people about whatever it is you're feeling on this grief journey. Make sure that you take the time to work through it and process it, because life will get better. Life will get better when you take the time to process how you are feeling in the safety of godly community, and in the safety of a licensed professional that's equipped to handle the things that you're walking through right now in this grief season. So I just wanted to stress that, and I hope that something I said was helpful on this topic. Those of you who are out there going through this journey on whatever side you find yourself on, whether you're supporting someone or whether you're walking through it yourself, there's just it could be a lot of touchiness and taboo kind of feelings with grief. But I just want to take away some of the stigma of what grief is really like, and just uncover it. Doesn't have to be this mysterious eggshell type situation. So that's my objective with this episode, and I hope that it helped you. And so for everybody out there who is watching, do me a favor and like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let me know what you thought about this episode over on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let me know what you thought about today's episode. If you are listening on Spotify, please do me a favor and follow, participate in today's poll, and make sure you comment or leave a review or rating. Let us know. Give us some feedback on what you think about today's episode. And is grief something that you're struggling with? Is something you're dealing with? Or do you have the support that you need? That is something that I would love to talk about in the comments. So just let me know. And last but not least, make sure you follow me at B Channel 27 on all social platforms. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube, Substack. I write notes about grief over there. WordPress. You can find me on LinkedIn, as well as Spotify. And I write stories. I do stories from time to time on TikTok. Um, I like to post mostly on Instagram as far as my stories are concerned, though. You can find me on Instagram all the time at B Channel 27. And all the updates, all the tea, whether it's a pod or it's a blog or a collaboration, you can find all that on Instagram at B Channel 27. But yeah, make sure y'all catch up with me. And once again, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. And thank you for the support. And peace and blessings. Until next time.